is the universe conscious? Does the universe think? Is universe like God? You know, the intelligent design. Fellow there with a brain that had a purpose for us, for the universe, for everything. Maybe he's playing a little toy game in his in heaven. You know, a little toy soldier. He says, "I'm going to entertain myself. I'm going to create some humans and some animals and some earth and whatever, and I'm going to watch what happens." You know. And control it, right? Because you got to control. You don't want your experiment to get out of hand, right? Anyways, there are different notions of what this universe is, and we saw a couple of them last week. Here's the notion that we presented the other day, the electricians, the electric universe primarily, but there are others as well. And they believe that the universe consists of all these things, you know, plasma and electric currents, and that everything is done with magnetism and so on. So they have these notions. They like to tinker with gadgets such as oscilloscopes and ammeters, voltmeters, and so on. Great. They think the sun is just a ball of plasma on the outside, and that's where the heat is generated. It's not generated in the center of the sun. Okay. Then you have on the other side mathematical physics, primarily the relatives when it comes to the cosmos, the the big world, the world of the big. Okay, and they believe in black holes and wormholes and the W maps and the space-time and dark matter and all this good stuff. So this is their world, and you can see that they don't match. That's why they don't like each other. Okay. The folks on the right, the relativists, they're more powerful. They have control of the strings of information, and so they press the other guys down with their thumb. They say, "I'm going to squash you because I have the power." Okay? Okay, so what is this universe like for all these people? In fact, it doesn't matter whether it's the electricians or the etherists or the establishment. This is what they propose. Whether they know it or not, this is the only thing that's ever been proposed in the last 10,000 years. Okay, here it is. Particles. This is all they understand. This is all they ever done. It's called the ether in one religion. Another religion calls it the false vacuum. Another religion calls it space-time. It's all the same thing. Okay? No one's ever done anything different than this. Particles, many particles. This is the only proposal we ever had on the table. Okay? So this is our starting point. And so there are other people that say, well, there's a little more than that, than particles. Than, coordinates and dimensions and vectors, values. There's something else that is not really measurable. It's called conscience, or being consciousness. Okay? That's what it is. And this goes, a long ways back in history. Here you had one of the famous guys who proposed this. His name was the Buddha, Gautama, right? And the Buddha taught that everything is connected and that everything is constantly changing. Now that's a little different than the particles you just saw, because the particles, they're not connected. And here these people are saying everything is connected. Okay, so are they talking physics or are they talking poetry? What are they talking here? And it says these fundamental observations of the world are shared by ecology and evolution. And that's the site there, you can look it up. Another site, fellow writes a little paper, says there can be no first cause and no creation ex nihilo of the universe as in the Big Bang Theory. Since the universe has neither beginning nor end, the only universe compatible with Buddhism is a cyclic one. Okay? According to Buddhism, the exquisitely precise fine-tuning of the universe for the emergence of life and consciousness as expressed in the anthropic principle is not due to a creative principle, but to the interdependence of matter with flows of what? Consciousness. We have the flow of consciousness, the two having coexisted for all times. So consciousness not only exists, but consciousness flows. Oh my God, I'm wondering what this guy is talking about. Back to word salad. Let's do a little word salad that offends these people so much. Here it is. Let's look up the definition of consciousness. What the hell are they talking about? Consciousness says awareness. Went some other words after that, but essentially awareness. What is awareness? A concept about knowing, perceiving, and being cognizant of events. And that's more or less the notion that everybody has of consciousness. So how can a concept exist? In what way does it exist? And how does a concept flow? Okay, so we got a problem there because this Buddhist says that a concept not only exists but flows. And that's a little different than the universe created by the mathematicians, which is a world of particles where who knows how they interact because, they're not connected, they're not touching each other. All the particles are discrete. Point in space-time, that's an event. And this event is separate from this other event. And anyways, you can't connect events because they're concepts. So how are you going to connect them? And so we have these problems. They put concepts in there and they say, well, this concept's over here, this concept's over here. And are they connected? No, they're all independent. But then they say this concept, meaning a particle, can affect that concept, another particle, through entanglement. So how does it affect it? Please explain the mechanism. And that's where they put more concepts in between and they say, well, this concept affects that concept through another concept. So we're full of concepts and we don't understand squat because we can't visualize the mechanism. That's the issue. Okay, so here's one person who tries to explain it in Quora, says, all points of space and time are connected. So they're connected. I guess they're not connected by consciousness, like in the case of Buddhism. Means that everything in the universe is connected in some way, even when they are separated by massive distances or vast amounts of time. Okay, connected how? What connects them? They just say this, they're connected. What do you mean by that? Connected what? When you talk about a connection, especially you're talking about physics here, you better have a physical entity mediating or serving as a mediator. And these people say they're connected. Take it or leave it. Like it or not. I'm going to shove it down your throat. They're connected. That's just a statement. They haven't justified it. This connection is often referred to as the fabric of space-time. Space-time is a concept, not a fabric. Okay? Fabric is, this is a fabric. My clothes, that's a fabric. What it's made out of. But space-time is not a fabric. Space-time is known as a concept. Time specifically, hopefully you'll understand that time is a concept. You cannot say that it's a fabric, that it's a thing, and so you cannot say that two particles are connected, or two particles first, two corpuscles are connected by time. That's not a connection, okay? You might say one influences the other, and you would have to explain how, but you cannot say they're connected. Connected is a physical term. Okay, but they slide these words, they sneak them into physics and say they're connected. Well, show me the connection. If they're connected, what is it, a chain that connects them? Is it a rope? Is it a string, cable? How are they connected? Wire? When we move, we can feel the space-time curvature around us. Oh, yeah? How many drinks did you have? Bartender, I want whatever he had. So you can you can feel the space-time. I feel the air, but not space-time. This means that events that happen in one part of the universe can have an effect on events that happen in another part of the universe, even if they are separated by billions of light years. Okay, but you got to tell us how they're connected, how one affects the other physically. That's what we need to understand. And here another fellow follows up and says, all points in space and time are connected. Means that you can draw a line between any two such points. No, draw a line is not connected. You still have, because until you draw your infinite line, so far we have no connection until you finish your line. And since a line is made of infinite points, I guess it's like Achilles and a tortoise, and never catch up. So you cannot say all points in time mean that that are connected means that you draw a line between them. That's not connected. That's math. That's not connection. That's just like, that's just the math. Exactly. Not all points have the same kind of physical connection. And again, it's not a physical connection that you have been talking about. For instance, there are trajectories in space-time that are not possible. What does trajectory have to do with connection? So you cannot always get from one point to another by obeying the laws of physics. Okay, I don't know what he's talking about there. There is a metaphysical meaning about the spiritual connectedness of everything. Yeah, they talk about spiritual connectedness, not about physical connectedness, and they can constantly confuse one with the other. They treat consciousness as a physical object, as if it were a string or something. They say, we're connected. We're connected by what? By consciousness. What do you mean by consciousness? Yeah, it means that we all have these, I guess, telepathy? I don't know what they're really referring to. What do you mean we're connected by consciousness? What kind of nonsense is that in physics? I mean, if you want to talk poetry over there, you know, in a class, no problem. Talk about it, or religion, you know, no problem. But if you're going to come into physics and talk about connectedness, then you got a problem, because, no, we're not connected by consciousness. You can be connected by a rope, by a wire, by a cable, but not by consciousness. There's no telepathy or telekinesis in physics. Okay? No such monster. Okay, so here's another fellow. He's got a site, and he says there is a deeper connection. They all talk about connection, huh? That unites all things in the universe. All things, all objects, right? And it can be observed in various realms, from the physical to the spiritual. Okay, let's look at the physical. I don't care about the spiritual. And he says the interconnectedness of all things is a principle that suggests that everything in the universe is interconnected and interdependent. By the way, this is a professional site where the guy has a quantum equation, and that's what he sells. He's trying to convince people to buy stuff that he can fix, or he can solve problems with his quantum equation. And he says, imagine a spider's web, with each strand representing a different aspect of the universe. Each strand is connected to every other strand, and the actions of one strand affect the entire web. Okay, so far so good. I like this, because it looks like my theory here. This is similar to how everything in the universe is connected and interdependent. Okay, no problem. I can understand that. He's talking about a spider's web, so he's got all these little threads, right? And all these strands are connected to every other strand, etc. Okay, we all understand this. No problem. If he can draw that, or at least we can picture what he's saying. But that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about something else. He says the principles of quantum mechanics and the theory of general relativity demonstrate that particles and forces are interconnected at the subatomic level. Particles and forces? The particles are wave function collapses and vibrations of fields, both concepts. And forces are concepts as well. So how do you connect concepts with concepts? They're connected by what? Okay, so he's already got a problem there, because he's not making any sense if he's going to bring quantum into this. I mean, he was doing fine when he was talking about a spider's web, but as soon as he talks about quantum particles, which aren't particles, and forces, we cannot talk about interconnectivity, because connectivity is a physical term, and he's not talking about physical, he's talking about concepts. This interconnectedness is not only limited to the physical realm, but also in the emotional, psychological, and spiritual realms. Suddenly he goes on a tangent, right? He's talking about emotions, thoughts, and actions, right? And he says this interconnectedness can be observed in the realm of consciousness. Oh my God, one of those, huh? Many spiritual traditions and philosophical teachings propose that we are all connected in a what? Deeper sense. Okay, what's this deeper sense? Hopefully something physical, right? That our individual consciousness is part of a larger collective consciousness. This idea suggests that everything in the universe is interconnected in a way that is beyond the physical. And again, you can see they use the word interconnected with consciousness and the spiritual. They're talking about feelings, thoughts, actions, you know? And so now they're connecting verbs. And this is how they slide these words in there. And not only these people do it, other people do it as well, you know, people who are into this consciousness stuff. You know, I detest the word consciousness, especially when they bring it into physics. I never want to hear that word. Never. Every time I hear the word consciousness or conscious, it drives me up the walls, because I know I'm talking to a, what do you call it, idiot? Yeah. Okay, so here's one of the famous guys who does consciousness and introduces it into physics, or mathematical physics, okay? His name is Nassim Haramein, and he said, the world is profoundly connected. Okay, he calls it the connected universe. He's got a video on that. Says our planets, stars, and galaxies account for only 4.9% matter of the universe. He got that from the establishment, okay? So he's vouching for the establishment here. He's going to take a detour trying to say that he discovered something new, right? So what makes up the rest of the universe? Okay, and he says space. Space is not empty. Space-time at the quantum level is fluctuating with an intense energy level, full of dynamic energy components. So we have space, or space-time, and it's full of energy, whatever energy is. And what is energy? Energy is an undefined word. To this day, they aren't able to define it. Or as Mr. Richard Feynman said, he said, we have no idea what energy is. Yeah, because energy is not a thing. It's not a what. Okay, there's no such thing called energy. Energy is a mathematical concept, so to say, what is energy, or you point to energy, you can't do that. You can't draw a picture of energy, because it's a concept, any more than you can draw love or intelligence. Everything is connected through this energy. So what does he propose as a connection? He proposes this mathematical concept called energy. That's in the space that actually it is the space that creates matter. And so he says space creates matter, and energy is within this space, and it's this energy that connects us. Great. We understood quite a bit. Oh my God. I wonder what these people drink. You know, I'd like to have a shot of that. I mean, I'm just a regular guy. I just drink beer and wine. These guys drink really hard liquor here, or maybe shoot up. I don't know. Okay, so how does Haramain continue? He's got a, by the way, an organization that sells some snake oil out there, and that's how he makes his money. So we often hear the sentence or this concept, everything is connected. It's all one. But how is that true? Space is what's connecting everything. And space is the great organizer. Space is the thing that connects all things. Okay, so space is a thing. It's all this energy in there, and it connects everything. Okay, but I want you to see how he slowly drifts into where he wants to take you, to consciousness. Okay, if we look at all the little fluctuations of the vacuum, all the rest of the mass in the universe is represented what? Holographically. I wonder where he got that. By the vacuum fluctuation inside one little proton. Okay, we're talking about vacuum fluctuations inside a proton. I guess he's been there. He saw it there. So that one little proton is connected to all other protons in the universe. We don't disagree there, but what is he connecting it with? He's connecting it with energy. And where's this energy? It's inside the space, and space is what creates matter. This is his notion, okay? And he says our universe is holographic in nature. Why does he say that? Well, because everybody in string theory is studying holography now. They're into holograms and the holographic principle. And so he knows that that's popular. So he's trying to get the right words in there so that he can sell his snake oil. That's what it's all about, okay? So here he says how he turns this energy into fields and into feelings. He's going to drift into consciousness, or out of consciousness, I guess. I don't know. There's a flow of the universe around you, and a flow of the energy of the universe inside you. Okay, so now we have this flow of energy. It's going around the universe and also inside you. This dynamic energy of the universe is constantly flowing through all of space, inside each one of our atoms, connecting us all. So we have this energy that's constantly flowing through every atom, and that's what's connecting you to me. Okay, so I don't know what kind of connections he's talking about. He's talking about physical connections. How am I connected to you? Through this energy, which is a concept. And he says you can literally feel the force of the universe inside you. Okay, I don't feel the force. Sometimes I feel the alcohol, but not the force. And flowing through you, connecting you to everything. Physical objects are not in space, but these objects are spatially extended as what? As fields. So you can see how he's using all this verbiage. He's just throwing words in there that have no meaning. And he says, look, it's space that creates matter. And there's all this energy, whatever that is, inside space. And that's what's flowing through every atom. And because it's flowing through every atom, these rivers of energy, these fields, that's what's connecting us. How is it connecting? I mean, can I untie myself from you? Can I cut this energy and, with a scissor or something and, have my freedom from you so I'm not connected to you? Okay, so this is the way he finishes. He starts out by talking physics, quantum, general relativity, space-time, energy, uses these fancy words, and then he goes in there and says, this is how he ends his presentation. He says, kindness and love and fear and sadness and joy and anger and stress. So this is what he ends his presentation. So what is he selling? He's selling all this consciousness, based on energy belonging to so-called physics, actually mathematical physics, and the consciousness belonging to his religion. I don't know if he's trying to win a Templeton Prize, which is a prize given to those who try to merge so-called science or mathematical physics actually with religion, with the spiritual world. They have this conscious universe in the back of their minds. And so, yeah, the question is, what are these people talking about? What have you learned from them? They're just using mystical words. They're selling you snake oil, the snake oil peddler. He's saying, oh, buy my elixir, it's good for you. That's all they're doing. They're just using words. What are they selling you? Well, what's the bottom line? What have we understood about the universe with all these people talking about the flow of energy through atoms, this energy that's throughout the universe, whatever it is, because it fills space. So hopefully it's a thing. What is it, smoke? Is it a gas? Well, what is this energy thingy? And so it's this energy that's flowing, and if it's flowing, how can it connect us? And suddenly, that energy morphed into feelings and anger and who knows what. And suddenly you have consciousness flowing in there right behind it. So that's how they introduce it in there. Okay, so here are the two universes that we propose. We have the mathematical physics universe, bunch of particles, which is what I started the presentation here today with. And that's the universe everybody has. And everybody proposes. No one has ever proposed anything different. Everybody says just particles. And even those who propose the ether and they talk about blobs, they don't realize they're talking about what the blob is made of, which is particles. And that's why it's fluid, that's why it's malleable, because it's made of discrete entities called particles, corpuscles or whatever. So this is the mathematical physics world. How did Stephen Hawking define it? He says, an event is a point in space-time. What is a point? It's a dot. What is a dot? It's a vibration of a field, a local vibration of field. Everything's made of field. What is a field? Well, it stretches infinitely. There's no end to it, and that's how they leave the room. So they say, oh, by the way, we don't understand anything, but Father Universe, he doesn't speak our language anyways. So we cannot hope to understand him. He doesn't understand us. And what do we propose instead? Well, we have this parallel universe that is different than the one of discrete particles. We're saying all atoms are physically interconnected. They're connected to each other. Any atom, hydrogen atom, when I talk about atom, is connected to any other hydrogen atom in the universe. And bigger atoms are simply, or bigger elements, you can say, more massive elements such as iron, whatever, lead, they are made of more hydrogen atoms. So every hydrogen atom that forms an iron atom has a rope connected to any other hydrogen atom in the universe. Okay, that's a proposal, that's the assumption, it's known as a hypothesis, so that you know our starting point, that's how we start our presentation. And then based on that, we explain light, gravity, magnetism.